Hello, 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 everyone. Wow, we are here. This is crazy. I am going live for the first time on YouTube. I have never done this before. So I was like, I'm going to do this and not tell anybody about it so that I can make any mistakes that I need to. But I'm so excited because we have been playing around with the format in which we desire to broadcast the Icons live show. And I've just been feeling into the power of the community here on YouTube, the traction that we've already gotten on YouTube, and decided that moving forward, we are not going to be doing the broadcast through Zoom anymore, but we will be broadcasting through YouTube. So there will be a chat on YouTube. We'll be going live, and you can always subscribe to the Icons show to get the time and the date, as well as the link to join us live on YouTube. And that link is avajohanna.com/icons. Every single week, we have a new episode come out over all of the major streaming platforms. But in addition to that, if you're new to the show, every other week, we do live shows with guests. And this is such a fun, interactive, and engaging way for you to not only take part of the conversation, but to be able to ask questions and speak with the thought leaders, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, and the industry icons that are really trailblazing in so many different realms, whether it be the wellness industry, product-based industries, health, spirituality, coaching. I wanted y'all to have a front row seat to their minds and the conversations that are happening behind closed doors. And so that's why Icons was born. And so we're really excited to be moving to YouTube. And today I'm actually going to be, because this is my test run of the live, I'm going to be doing a solo episode all about creating real freedom in your life. So I want to just reverse to earlier this morning. I woke up, went to the gym, swam some laps in the pool, sauna, meditated, did a cold plunge. After the cold plunge, went in the jacuzzi, listened to one of my favorite thought leaders, Gabby Bernstein, answered a couple client Voxers, went home, and I put on the Bachelor, the season finale. I had to will myself not to go on social media because I knew that the minute I would go on, the first post at the top would be whoever Joey picked. And y'all know, if you've been listening to the podcast for the last couple of weeks, I am obsessed with this season of The Bachelor. And I am just so excited that he picked Kelsey because I adore her and I love her energy. But the reason why I'm sharing this is because this slow start to my morning, the time freedom that I have, the ability to, if I want to, go swim laps at the pool or meditate or sauna or cold plunge or watch the 2-hour season finale and not actually start my day until 12:30 or 1 o'clock is something that I've been creating for a while. And I wanted to talk about creating real freedom in your life because the plot twist of this is that it's not the actual physical manifestation that I'm talking about, but my mental and emotional relationship to the experience that I've created in the physical. And, I was thinking about this last week because I saw one of my girlfriends post about how she went back to read a perfect day entry that she put in her journal just the other week. And as she was reading it, she realized she was living her perfect day. And it was such a great reminder to her. This is what she shared. It was such a great reminder to her that we don't always need to be asking what's next, what's coming up. When she realized a past version of herself had literally designed the perfect day that she was now living in the present moment, she was reminded that we don't constantly have to be pushing ourselves forward or focusing on what's next. And in fact, so much of the lack of freedom we've created is because mentally and emotionally, we're caught up in that constant need to be progressing. And if you're here listening to this conversation that we're having right now, I'm assuming you are someone who is growth oriented. We are actually all, as human beings, growth oriented by nature. But growth is not meant to come at the expense of our present experience or ability to experience joy, contentment, and a passion for life right now. And I actually don't call it the perfect day. I call it my Groundhog Day because if you've ever seen the movie Groundhog, it's the day that we live over and over and over and over again. And the reality is, I would rather create the most exceptional, wonderful, peaceful, joyous Groundhog Day than just the perfect day, right? The perfect day might be some like massage and then five-star, meal and being able to, stay at a beautiful hotel and I don't know, travel somewhere in Europe. That's beautiful. My perfect day is a little bit different than my Groundhog Day. And so when I am working with my clients, I always love to identify what the Groundhog Day is. Because once we've identified the Groundhog Day, the day that we would live over and over and over again, we can then start to work to create it. But again, the plot twist with this whole conversation that I want to have with you today is that it's not just about identifying your Groundhog Day, which is quite simple for us to do. And I'm sure I'll record another episode in the future about how to create your Groundhog Day. But instead, what I wanted to talk about is the feelings and the thoughts that typically tend to arise for high achievers once you've created your Groundhog Day. And I know this from experience, trust me. When I first started taking action to create my Groundhog Day, I noticed that even though I had created this physical freedom, I wasn't mentally or emotionally free. So I'll give you an example. Even looking at the day that I had this morning, and this is why I was inspired to record this episode. A couple years ago, while I was experiencing success in my business, I had the financial freedom, I set myself up to have time freedom. I would live out this day that I have today, but I would be so anxious and feel insatiated, feeling like even though I had created this wonderful day that I had been working so hard towards, I couldn't actually live in it. And it wasn't actually safe for me to surrender into it, which is awful if you think about it, because so often our driving force is to create this beautiful physical reality around us. And if we get to that physical reality and don't have the same mental and emotional freedom that is corresponding to what we thought the physical reality would bring us, then are we actually free? In my mind, no. I don't think that we're actually free if we don't feel happy, if we feel anxious, if we're worried, if we can't actually settle into what we've created, if we can't surrender into what we've created, if we can't celebrate what we've created, if we don't feel good enough, if we feel like it could all fall away, if we feel like we have to keep pushing forward, that's no way to live. And I know that for so many of you that are watching this or listening to this, that you don't want to create a beautiful life and feel like it's not good enough. You don't want to build a 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure business and feel like it's not enough. You don't want to feel like now that you have all of the support around you, you've hired the team members, you've got the personal assistant, you've got the nanny, and yet you still can't relax on your vacation. And so this is the conversation that so many high-performing, high achievers are having now, having been able to create the success and look around and be like, the success is external, but internally, I don't feel it. So creating real freedom in your life is about creating internal success. And this is something I specialize with my clients because I wasn't free mentally and emotionally. Every person that enters my world wants something more, wants freedom, whether it's physical freedom or relative to their time, whether it is relative to their finances or their mindset. Every person that enters my world does so with the intention to create some level of freedom. And if you're a service-based provider, especially in the coaching, spiritual, or wellness space, more often than not, your clients are coming to you in what you desire as well as some level of freedom. And again, there's no worse feeling than feeling like your mind and emotions have you in this chokehold and you can't actually escape the feeling of not being free or not being safe or not being able to settle into what it is that you have created. that feeling of insatiation, not being there yet, feeling like you need more for validation, that's not real freedom. And I've been in many masterminds before with women making multiple five, multiple six figures a month that will express that they don't feel good enough and they don't feel free and they don't feel like they are making enough. They don't feel validated. And it's pretty heartbreaking. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work and so passionate about this conversation that we're having, because the way through is nervous system rewiring. The way through is by learning how to create safety in the freedom that you've created physically. And we can do this before we've even created the physical freedom. And in fact, when I work with clients that are a little bit earlier on in business, this is one of the most important things that I drive home for them, because the last thing that they want to do is scale their business to multiple five, six figures a month and not feel free. So we work on it from the very beginning so that every step of the way, you are already free mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So to me, real freedom isn't just about setting up our physical reality or our schedules to only taking a few client calls a week or starting your morning meditating or being able to go on that vacation. It's about how you feel once you've created it. That's true freedom for me. And the way that I like to think about it is this, just to give you some examples, because maybe this is what you're experiencing right now. Are you really free if you're meditating every morning, but you're stressing about the time that you're missing or feeling like you have to rush through your meditation because you could be selling or you could be making money? Are you really free if you have your highest cash month and yet you still feel like you need more or you can't celebrate? Are you really free if you have hundreds of people listening to your podcast, thousands of people listening to your podcast every single day, or hundreds of people inside of your last program, and you're like, I feel like I wanted more? No. True freedom happens in the mind and the body. And today, what I want to share with you is my 3-step process for being able to create that true freedom, that real freedom that comes mentally and emotionally. And this isn't to say that we can't focus on creating the physical freedom. We get to focus on all of it, but we should be focusing on all of it, not just the physical freedom. And the mistake that I see so many people make is that they just focus on the physical. They create the physical, and then they realize that the physical never actually gave them the feelings that they were desiring. So the 3 steps, I like to break it down and make it easy for y'all. The 3 steps. Number 1, get clear on what emotional and mental freedom your external or physical desires will create for you. What's actually underneath the surface that you've decided another 200K in sales this year is going to mean for you? Is it a desire to be more impactful, to be seen or validated, to feel loved or appreciated by others? What is a mental and emotional feeling that you are associating with more people in your programs, buying the house, getting the G-Wagon? When I get this, then I will feel blank. Fill that out, answer it, and there is what we want you to be focusing on. Because more often than not, the emotional and mental freedom that you're craving is something that you probably are not giving yourself right now, and maybe you've never given yourself this feeling, this sensation mentally and emotionally. And like I mentioned, if you don't learn how to give it to yourself now, chances are once you've gotten the physical freedom that you're desiring or the physical manifestation that you're desiring, whether it be more people in your world, more money, a partner, a house, a car, once you get it, you're probably going to look around and say, wait, it didn't actually have that mental and emotional feeling that I really desired. Or it might for a moment, but then it's fleeting because the mind's just going to go on to what's next, right? So the mind creates this illusion, that making $1 million or having thousands of people in your programs or going viral is going to be the thing that creates X emotion and X sensation. And again, it might for a moment in time, but it's fleeting and it's conditional upon something outside of you, which is not sustainable long term. When the foundation that you've built physical freedom on is devoid of the mental and emotional freedom that you are truly desiring, then once you actually receive the physical freedom that you've been working so hard to create, you'll notice that the mental and emotional satiation that you desire is not actually there. So get clear on what emotional and mental freedom your external or physical desires will create for you. What is underneath the surface? The second is go out and create those physical changes. If you need to hire a new team member, go hire that new team member so that you can take the vacation. If you need to, reduce your expenses or increase your expenses so that you have the space to be able to start your days more slowly, go out and do that. If you need to let go of a program or an offer that's no longer serving you, that's taking up too much space in your mind, go out and do that. If you want to reduce the amount of calls that you're taking, go out and do that. But as you are doing it, your day-to-day question that you should sit with should be, how can I give myself what I really desire today? So this goes back to the first step. What is underneath the surface that you really desire? Once you have clarity on that, then you sit down every day and ask yourself, how can I give myself that today? How can I give myself that today? Not how can someone or something else give me that, but what is it that I can do to generate that feeling or mental state on my own? When you learn to generate from within, it no longer becomes this fleeting feeling that is conditional based upon the physical reality, but it becomes an internal operating system that you can plug into and source happiness, joy, fulfillment, passion, energy from at any given point. And I'll share a little bit about what that can look like as we move into step 3, which is surrender and then surrender some more. This is all nervous system work and belief work at the core. You are creating new muscles and overriding old systems. So naturally, this process is going to take time, especially if you're someone who has been very much in the high achieving, push, 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 miss always on for decades of your life. So you have to give yourself grace in this process. And that's why this piece of surrendering comes into play and is the third step in this process. Because when you've created the physical changes and you're still feeling stressed, you're still feeling anxious, you're still unable to relax, you're still obsessed with results or obsessed with getting more and more and more, your only job is to surrender and surrender some more. So step 3, surrender and then surrender some more. Surrender to me isn't about giving up. Surrender is not about giving up. It's not about saying, I'm not going to move, I'm not going to do. Surrender to me is about calling for an easier way of being, an easier way of receiving what you desire. Surrender is choosing to work with your higher self in the universe to get where you want to go in the highest aligned path. Surrender isn't about not moving forward. It's about moving forward from a spiritually aligned place. And surrender in this process can look like breathing, meditation, prayer, calling on God to take your anxiety away and show you a better way. Again, it's not the act of not doing, but the act of releasing the old way of doing that has kept you trapped in unhelpful constructs of the mind and the emotional body. Because again, it's not helpful for you to be stuck in this mode where even when you're receiving your desires, it never feels like enough. And so this last step to surrender is as simple as creating the physical freedom, living in it, being in it, noticing when your mind or your body starts to take yourself out of the moment and calling yourself back through very simple practices that can support you in relaxing and softening your nervous system to actually receive and find safety in opening yourself up to all that you've already created and really living and being in it. And so I wanted to share a prayer with you before we wrap up today that I personally call upon myself and really leaned into when I was rewiring myself mentally and emotionally to freedom. I think about a trip that I took several years ago with my ex to Maui. It was such a beautiful trip, right? It was like dream vacation. I had a week in Maui. We were staying at this beautiful resort on the beach. I rented this like gorgeous BMW convertible. We got a cabana. We had beautiful meals. We did all that we wanted to do. Everything was 5 star. And it was probably one of the lowest feelings I had ever had. And I was so hard on myself because I couldn't understand why everything externally looked so good and I had created it all, but everything internally felt so heavy and felt so just disconnected from what was happening externally. And so that was really my call to action to understand why is it that we can create all of this stuff physically, but not have a resonant emotion and resonant mental state. And so again, that's where my work has really taken a turn as far as how I support my clients because I know what it's like to be there. And so the prayer I use is, God, show me how much easier it gets to be. Help me see a better way. I choose to release this anxiety now. And I know some of you are here live with me. So if you want to put a hand on your heart, and if you're listening to this on replay on the podcast, putting a hand on your heart. And maybe God doesn't resonate. Maybe it's universe, maybe it's higher self, whatever it is that you feel most resonant with. Show me how much easier it can be. Help me see a better way. I choose to release this anxiety now. Take a breath in and exhale to release. Let's say it one more time together. God, show me how much easier it can be. Help me see a better way. I choose to release this anxiety now. Make this your mantra every time you start to feel yourself get worked up, and I promise you, miracles will come. This is about surrendering, softening, actually allowing yourself to create freedom internally. And when you do, the creation of freedom externally gets to feel so much more alive and beautiful and easy. And it gets to be easy. It gets to feel good. We have so much proof around us that it doesn't have to be this massive fight, tooth and nail, to get to where you want to go, but that there is so much support around you that if you actually open yourself up and proclaim, show me how much easier it can be, help me see a better way, take this anxiety away, that you will be supported because we have to ask for the support. So I hope that this has been eye-opening for you. And I hope that this has not only helped you to see that there can be a better way, but also just so you know that you're not alone if you have been feeling this. And I wanted to share a couple of announcements before I close out of this conversation. For those of you that have been with me live on YouTube, I'm so happy that you were able to tune in live. We will be doing these live again every other week with our guests of the Icons Show. So make sure if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, avajohanna.com/icons, where you will get all of the notice of when the show's happening, what time, and who is going to be coming on. We like to do it a little speakeasy style to keep it interesting. And then you can, of course, watch any of the replays on YouTube or listen to them on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, wherever you stream your podcasts. But outside of that, Wanted to share first and foremost, I have one spot opening up for one-to-one coaching. The application is going to be linked in the show notes. You can also go to avajohanna.com. You can send me an email, hi@avajohanna.com, if you are interested in exploring working together. I support high achieving entrepreneurs, executives, and thought leaders with nervous system optimization, identity work, and leadership. I really love and am passionate about the conversation that we're having today, making success and freedom be bigger than just your bottom line, and bringing a more spiritually aligned approach to business so that it gets to be easier, it gets to be more fulfilling, and you get to make an impact and an income through heart-centered, service-driven work. So if this sounds like you, if you're ready for your next level, you're ready to attune yourself to greater levels of wealth, freedom, love, passion, and impact, definitely reach out. You can also send me a DM on Instagram at Ava Johanna. I also have my Behind the Woman Mastermind that is going to be starting in May. We'll make sure to link that in the show notes or in the description of the YouTube video. And you can also go to avajohanna.com/mastermind, very similar to my one-to-one work, but we will also have a high-end luxury retreat. It's going to be hybrid one-to-one as well as group. I'll have incredible guest experts in that space. And that's really for the person who is desiring everything that I just mentioned from my one-to-one, but also wants to be surrounded in community. There's so much power in the community, in the environment that we're in, and how it supports our growth. And so masterminds have always been spaces that have been complete catalysts to propel me forward. And if you are looking for a badass community of women, I know where to find them. So the Behind the Woman Mastermind starts in May. And then finally, if you are local to Texas, or if you want to fly in on April 11th, I am hosting a female founders dinner. We are halfway sold out, but I would absolutely love for you to join us if you want to come in person. It'll be at Pershing on April 11th. You can send me a message if you are interested in securing one of the last spots. Tickets are $150. I will make sure that that's also linked in the show notes. So thank you all so much for being here with me. Next week, we're going to have an epic conversation with a PR guru. So I am so excited just to be able to ask her all of the questions about public relations, getting opportunities, working with brands. It's going to be such a fun conversation. So make sure again that you're subscribed to the podcast. That's avajohanna.com/icons. All right, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here with me today. I am so grateful, so excited that we are officially here on YouTube, and I hope that y'all have an iconic day.